Okay, moving on to item number 11, which is Environment Bay of Plenty Draft Regional Policy Statement. Just to recap here, as you know, we're affected by two regional policy statements because a little bit before, sorry, we had two. You're quite right, don't make me angry. Part of our district is Environment Bay of Plenty, and part of it's down there, and part's over here, and a big chunk of it's Environment Waikato. This is about their regional policy statement, and I'll just tell you from the outset, I'll be voting against it for personal reasons. Most of my reason is, of course, poison in the Taupo catchment. Their regional policy statement is now going further to talking about pigs and all sorts of things that weren't introduced to New Zealand, so non-indigenous species should fear for their lives. There's now an application in front of Irma or somewhere at the moment to use sodium nitrate rather than 1080, because 1080 they've discovered doesn't kill pigs because they can regurgitate it. So now we'll put sodium nitrate all over the beautiful district, and we'll make sure we get rid of the pigs and everything too. So there's two things I can do. I'll just leave my comments at that, and we'll put on notice that I'll be voting against the resolution at the end of the agenda item, and I'll open it up for discussion. Well, Rowan, do you want to start, please?
Yep. Thank you, Your Worship. This item, as described, is about Council's submission on the proposed regional policy statement for Environment Bay of Plenty. Every regional council is statutorily obliged to develop a regional policy statement and put it out for consultation under the first schedule of the Resource Management Act. These documents do affect us. We are legally obliged to give effect and not be inconsistent with parts of these documents where it states, and so there are some implications for Taupo District. As the Mayor mentioned, we are subject to 4 of these regional policy statements. There's a map on page 11/13 of the different regions which do actually affect us. On 11/12 is the area of Taupo District, which is the Rangitika area, which is actually under the EBOP constituency, EBOP area. So it's only that part of the district which is actually this regional policy statement will take effect on. We have gone through the regional policy statement and identified those parts which we believe are of interest or will affect our current policies in Taupo District, etc. Basically with a planning focus, because it's a planning document under the RMA, and we've developed a draft submission which could be put forward in this process by Taupo District Council. I'll basically leave it there, but before we go any further, I'll just bring your attention to page 11/1 under 4 options. Now the first line says there are 3 options, and that should be changed to 2 options. Thank you.
Okay, questions, comments, please.
We assume, Mr. Mayor, that we have to go through this 4 times for these 4 different regional districts that we're in? Is it not uniform?
It's not uniform. Every region is different. Every region's got a different set of issues and a different way that they approach the development of these documents. Next month we will be taking you through the draft submission to the Environment Waikato regional policy statement, because they are putting one out at the same time. Horizons region put theirs out, I think, a couple of years ago. I don't think we actually did submit on that because it's only a small area of the Kaimanawas which affects, and again Hawke's Bay region, we've got an area of the Mohaka catchment there, so that's different issues with different breadths and scales of if submissions are required.
They do them at different times, but we do get presented them, we can submit on them, and we do have to operate under them as an overarching umbrella over us.
Thank you.
Councillor Downer?
I agree with your comments, Eric, but I suppose if council officers feel as though that a submission needs to be put forward to make something better out of something bad, then I'll have to go for that. So yeah, I'll go with the suggested resolution with option A.
Let me read the suggested resolution that the submission and attachment 2 of the officer's report of the 25th of January 2011, with any necessary amendments identified by the Council, so you can still make amendments, be submitted to Environment Bay of Plenty by the 8th of February 2011 as a Council submission on the proposed Environment Bay of Plenty Regional Policy Statement So you're announcing yourself as the mover to that motion, Councillor Downer?
Yep.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Williams. Any further discussion, debate therein? As I said, I'll be registering my vote against it. I'm not having poison put all over this catchment, especially one that's even worse than 1080 now, which is sodium nitrate. So all those in favour?
Aye.
And I vote against. Register my vote against, please. Carried. Agenda item number 12. Thank you, Mr. Seppert. Agenda item number 12. I see Mr. Payne here, or Mr. Do you want to? Okay. Well, let's take this Taupo District Council district performance report, and we'll go through it page by page rather than bounce around. If you've got any questions on it, please feel free to ask them. Remember, don't try and ask a question, please. Even if you don't understand it, you need to understand it best as possible, because that's what you accepted when you stood for council. That's what governance is about. This is an important agenda item. It's the financial statements of this council. So let's go through them page by page. Mr. Menhennet is here to answer any questions. So I'll open it up and we'll start on page 12 bar 2. And the graphs are fairly obvious, but please, if you're not happy, ask why the graphs and the budgets aren't matching or anything like that. Please feel free. 12 bar 2, 12 bar 3. Notice our net equity is still floating around 1.2 billion. The debt ratio of about 9%. Your pick on it? 12 bar 4. And 12 bar 5. 12 bar 6. Moving on, 12 bar 7. Expenditure. 12 bar 8, Treasury Management Report. As Mr. Menhennet, you'd like to explain the south faces? Or the sad faces, I get the word wrong. Sad faces.
Yeah. Sad faces is where actual does not align with our Treasury management policy, or in some cases budget, and it goes to the extreme level when we are dealing here in hundreds of thousands of dollars, that we actually have to show a sad face because we were $58. I had an overdraft cost of $58. So that's the rules under which we operate.
Is this the same $58 we seem to get on these overdraft rates every performance report? Is that carried forward, or it's just happening every time?
It goes up and down, but yeah.
So couldn't we sort of, rather than have a sad face and be embarrassed by these $58 incurred, budget for them?
We don't budget to be an overdraft.
Well, we are though, eh?
Yes, unfortunately, occasionally that happens, but it's
I
not
think
our...
for $58, I'll build a bridge and get over it. That's fine. Anything further? 12 bar 8. 12 bar 9. I must comment you, Mr. Menhennet, on the way these are laid out. They're very easy to read and absorb. Sorry, Mr. Henderson.
Yeah,
Councillor Henderson.
Just a question. Can we have a bit of explanation on the chart there, total debt portfolio?
You're on 12 bar 9. Are you?
Yeah, 12 by 9.
Yep.
Yeah.
Explanation from
Yeah,
me?
well, I mean, it seems to have increased from...
You're on 12 bar 9.
Yeah, 12 by 9, yeah.
Which one are you in?
Total debt portfolio, yeah. Third chart on the left. Yeah.
You're referring to the increase in September, or the increase since
The year-to-year
beginning of
increase,
the year?
which looks to be about 30 million.
Oh, okay, so I'm with you now. You're talking on the third box down on the
Yeah,
left-hand
on the
side?
left, yeah.
That's final payments ETA.
Okay.
Anything further? Okay, moving on to 12 bar 10. I'm sorry, Councillor Minter.
Yeah, the property assets. Just
On 12/10, yeah.
Is that to be developed land? Is that where we with the property assets there? Is that
The property assets in the TEL fund is when I purchased that bit of land off the RDA, Broadlands Road. That enabled them to relocate up to Ohipi, and it was a TEL fund that bought that bit of land because we saw that as a strategic asset for the district, that its location was something that we wish to control the use of.
Just to extrapolate on that too, it was a very good move yours, Mr. Menhennet, because at that particular time we had some 10 odd acres alongside it. We would have been landlocked. So it enabled us to have a much bigger piece of land than the RDA was for future development for whatever's going to happen out there eventually. So that's the only property that TEL fund owns, isn't it?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, sorry, that's TEL fund. Is that separate than the assets of obviously the land that's inside the ETA?
It's always been kept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind you, in all honesty, the TEL fund does subsidise rates in this district, has been doing for quite some time, although it's been reduced slowly but surely. But interest has still been subsidising rates, which it's inherited, and that's the case of it. Councillor Henderson?
Just a follow-on question about that graph again. That year-on-year increase from November 09 to November 10 appears to be a $30 million increase in debt. Is that mostly or all attributable to the ETA and the payments?
There's your what's name out here. What's it called? Where you get rid of everything? Wastewater plant, wastewater treatment plant. I was trying to think of the correct language. Sorry. I know what I wanted to call it. Mr. Menhennet, you can add to that.
Maybe Jeanette might like to go into a little bit more detail. But really, it is related to the wastewater plant, the increased infrastructure. For example, we've redone the piping coming down Lake Terrace as the start of the expenditure on the new water treatment plant just out here. Some expenditure related to preparing land for sale. But yes, the majority of it is the ETA.
And it was always budgeted that our share of the ETA was approximately 25 to 28 million or something, wasn't it, from memory?
25.
And now we need to look at the property around it and try and sell it and what have you, dispose of unneeded assets and repay some of those debts. Well, we've got our town back. You know, it's almost at the stage now, if you see a truck in town, you wonder if someone's going to go out and lynch them. Anyway, moving on, 12/10.
Can I go back to 12/4, Your Worship?
Back to 12/4?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just a query on regarding the notes financial statement, the year-to-date variances, Mr. Menhennet, on other expenses. I just wonder if you could explain to us the main categories there, namely maintenance expenditure, losses on disposal of assets, and electricity and gas. There's just quite a significant variance in those items.
Okay, well, the maintenance expenditure has been very much related to our wastewater and the increased repairs that have been necessary in the district. We have a contract with Fulton Hogan as far as a lot of those repairs are concerned, and we're finding that we are on the wrong side of the ledger at this stage. But then that's something that we are working with them on, just to see whether we can control the level of expenditure related to our three waters.
Is there a sort of a lack of maintenance in the past, or is it something that you would expect to happen from time to time?
Would say that it's a variety of factors, the ones that you've touched on, and also we need to better project manage the contract. And, because we work on a service request basis, and the service request goes straight through to the contractor to do the work. Now, from a contractor's perspective, they naturally do the work. From our perspective, we would like to be in a position to, in some of those jobs, be able to say yes or no before the work actually occurs. So there's an aspect of project management that we need to be a little bit firmer on.
Did the full-time housing manager undergo maintenance?
No, this is in respect of the contract where our actual expenditure has been greater than budget, and we're really talking about that major variance that exists. There's a combination of contracts that make up that full expenditure.
If I could, just for Councillor Williams's benefit, just give you a classic example. Last year we had sewage pipes exploding in Lowell Place. It was unbudgeted, it was untenable. That sewage may have, it didn't, have got anywhere near the lake or anything like that. We had to get in there where you might have noticed all the streets were ripped up, there was pipes in all directions. That was somewhere in the vicinity of $3 million of unbudgeted expenditure, but it simply was untenable not to do it. We were just between a rock and a hard place. Well, it's in your expenditure in that figure on the right hand side. That's why you've got in some years. Now the other one I can think of in the last 12 months, having been involved in, was the Mangakino sewage spill that we were prosecuted. We simply had to get out there and do a lot of, at that time, unplanned and unbudgeted, spend unbudgeted money on fixing what's essentially core services. So it just has to be done, unfortunately. Oh, I'm sorry?
In terms of infrastructural planning, obviously when things don't go according to plan with infrastructure, it tends to be big dollars one way or the other. What we tend to do in the engineering environment is budget for an averagely good year, because we don't want to over budget and then not spend the money because we end up overrating people. So we tend to budget in engineering, particularly the operational maintenance areas, for an averagely good year. But we also have to acknowledge that sometimes we don't have an averagely good year, because on average it has to balance out, and sometimes we have a bad year, and that's where we tend to get these over expenditures. So we do go either side of that ledger, but generally on balance we budget on the optimistic side and try to manage within those budgets, rather than budget for a bad year and then not spend the money and overrate the public. So that's where you tend to get these over expenditures reflected.
And adding to that, a classic case is Sunday night that's just gone by. I mean, we lost all the water supply to Waireki village, washed our pipes out, a lot of damage to our roads around the place. So again, unbudgeted repairs, but they have to be done. So that's, you can't budget for those things you don't know it's going to happen.
Again, the key is more the long-term trends. So you as engineers, we look at the longer-term trends and budget according to those trends, but still try to be optimistic with those budgets to keep the rating line low, bearing in mind infrastructure is always the most expensive activity that we undertake.
And the losses on the disposal of assets.
Council revalues its assets every 3 years, and each year it's a different group of assets. For example, roading or our property. Most of this loss is in respect of the Rickett Street house that Council agreed to sell, and it was just basically in the books at a value prior to the downturn in the housing sector, and we actually sold it to staff member who was a tenant of that particular place because of the location of it. It was really close to one of our water infrastructure, a nice way of putting it, places that didn't have a lot of demand by other people in the community.
It was tendered in an open, honest and transparent way. Anything further, Councillor Williams, on that? No. Okay, we'll go back to 12. Where did we get up to? 12 by 10, was it? 11, was it? 12 by 11. Please, as I said before, Councillor Williams asked you, please ask the questions to garner the knowledge. It's important. This is public money, and we need to be expedient in our dealing with it. That's not right. Where is it?
Through the chair, I'd just like to make a comment about 12 by 11 and 12. There's been a number of times where people have commented about using the TEL fund for purposes of other than investment. I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that the average return that we're getting from our investments is 8.36%. on page 1211. If you look at page 1212 down on point 7 of performance, you'll see our average cost of borrowing is 6.05%. Hence, that is why we've got money invested and we have a level of borrowing to the extent that we do have a difference there of 2.3% between our on the positive side.
So, to put it simply, when people go out there and they say, oh, the council's got this big, great indebtedness, they're not actually taking into account that that money's been borrowed at 6.05% and reinvested at another bank at 8.3.6.
That we're running two books, one an investment book and one a loan book.
Yeah.
And
our investment portfolio is returning us 8.3%, and our borrowings are costing us 6.05. So you're doing some very good money trading, sir.
Well, that's just the way it works. Yeah.
Well, I hope it's the way it works. Not the other way. The other way I don't like.
Really, these are decisions made over time, not just
obviously made very prudently, sir. 12/12. And that was the finale, so we'll go back to the suggested resolution at the front, which is that the Taupo District Performance Report member ending to 30th of November 2010 be received. Do I have a mover, please? Moved, Councillor Williams. Seconded, Councillor Truman. All those in favour?
All right.
So carried. Thank you.